everybody ought to read the book of Ecclesiastes, or the Ecclesiastes part in the Old Testament. It might be a little eye-opening to what's going on here and how a lot of people really don't want to have the wisdom because it totally upsets them, and basically they don't understand it, okay? Now, what I went over with Tom there yesterday on the call, and the audio that he posted up there, was I went over a lot of stuff about the ecclesiastic standpoint and what is going on here, okay? And basically is what the first item that was set up was a TRESFACIUNT COLLEGIUM, collegium. Okay? And basically that's three make a corporation. That is, three persons may form a corporation. By the maxim, the Roman law required three persons to form a corporation, but after it was formed, it might continue to exist as a corporation, although the members were reduced to one. Well, in your individual corporation that was set up here, you had three. You're essentially your spirit, the Father, your right hand, the Son, and then you had a fiction to operate in commerce, your Holy Ghost. So you had the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In the scenario, you're three persons. And when the Spirit and the Son die, they get buried in the ground. But the fiction, the Holy Ghost, can continue to run around. And at that point in time, that's when you need to call in the Ghostbusters to bring him into alignment and bust him up. That's the dissolution of the corporation. When you call in the Ghostbusters. So that movie, The Ghostbusters, had something to say to people out here, too. Now, collegium, a corporation, to college, an ecclesiastical body which is not controlled by the state. That is very big right there. And then it also refers to universitas. Take off the Y off the university and put an AS on there. The whole, the total. As the term was used in civil law, it meant a corporation that is one whole entity formed out of many individuals. Essentially three. But you can always bring a wife and your children and everything else into your universitas. And basically an ecclesias is a church, a place of divine worship, a parsonage, an ecclesiastical, religious, pertaining to the church. And that's your beliefs, okay? Your beliefs. Everybody has their own set of beliefs. I can't force my beliefs onto you. I only try and guide you in the right path and chew your ass out when you get off track. But that's not putting my beliefs onto you. And then you can go through ecclesiastical. One of the key things is everybody was out here trying to be their own private notary doing special forms and everything else. They don't need any of that. When they declare, and basically you are an ecclesiastic, you are a church. And a church pays no tithes to the church. A church ought not to pay tithes to a church. So when you go to, like, the Roman Catholic Church, and you pay tithes to them, why? You're a church unto yourself. Why are you paying it over to another church? To have them tell you their beliefs that are all messed up anyway, I don't know why you're going there. But that's my opinion, okay? So you have an ecclesiastical pertaining to your church. You have the right of having an ecclesiastical notary in your church. So you do your own notary. Who knows you better than you? You're ecclesiastical. Your church knows you better than anything. An ecclesiastical notary is higher than any public notary out there. So I went over some of these on the call last night with Tom, so I don't think I need to go over all of these again out here. But
what I did, Patrick, is we actually I transcribed that call into a doc file, so I posted a doc file rather than the call.
Did you post the audio of it up too?
I can post it. Yeah, if you want, I'll
post it up too. Okay.
I will do that.
Yeah. That way they get two senses working. Okay.
Good.
Sight and sound. You always try and give at least 2 out of 3.
Is that the file called Perpetuity?
No, that's the documents from a few days ago. This is the file called Strengthening Your Bill of Equity.
Now, what we have to do, okay, and going through a bunch more looking at this today, we have to do a writ of partition. A common law writ for the partition of land between covenants, which has given way both in this country and in England to the remedy in equity or under statute. Now you go and look up partition. Partition, the division made between 2 or more persons of land, tenements, hereditaments, or goods, or chattels belonging to them as co-owners. You can read the whole rest of the definition. I'm not going to go into it. But is what essentially took place is that they got us into a co-parcentuary, okay? C-O-P-A-R-C-E-N-A-R-Y. An estate arising in any case where the ownership is in heirs who take from the same ancestor, such heirs being regarded as one heir joined together by unity of interest, unity of title, and unity of possession. Now, the estate is of little importance at the present time, since statutes have converted the estate into a tenancy in common. into a communist holding pattern. Okay, that's what a tenancy in common really boils down to. The definition for tenancy in common: a tenancy whereby two or more persons are entitled to land in such manner that they have an undivided possession but several freeholds or interest. A tenancy characterized by a single essential unity, that of possession, or of the right to possession of the common property. You have the right to possession that is being held under this common or this tenancy in common. Under this 1933 covenant. So that's why we have to effect the writ of partition. And what do we have? We've got a certificate of live birth or a DD 214. And those are called partition deeds. A deed executed and delivered in effecting a partition of real estate. See, that's what we need to do, is come in and basically have our partition enforced. We enforce, and then basically you go in and read about judicial partition, a compulsory partition in action by which co-owners of property cause it to be divided into many shares as there are owners according to their interest therein, or if that cannot be done equitably, to be sold for the best obtainable price. But see, all we're doing, we have to come in as in our ecclesiastical church capacity with our partition deeds under a writ of partition against the United States. The other party as the tenancy in common holder. So basically that's what I came up with today, and yeah, it all fits into what we've been looking for, but we weren't addressing the right thing. And see, even the courts, they have partition commissioners. Commissioners appointed by the court in partition proceedings, whose duty it is to examine the premises and make the preliminary or advisory partition and report back to the court. And what did I say about judicial act up there? The act of a judge or an officer other than a judge performing a duty which is judicial or quasi-judicial in nature. If people would have spent a little more time and stayed away from all the codes out there and spent more time in the dictionary understanding the words, they might have had their remedies a lot quicker out here. See, you take that certificate of live birth, but you have to call it a partition deed to effect the settlement. Why do we need to go to the Supreme Court? Primarily because the Supreme Court was the one focal point that was to make the proper judicial conversion of land into money at the proper exchange rate. Most of these others, basically, they would have screwed you if they could have gotten away with it, because they were out of way, and basically nobody ever knew, and that's why they took the coining of the currency away from all the states. They took the land conversion into money away from the states and put it in one central focal point. So I gave you some more words. Tom's got the transcribe up there of the words that I gave him yesterday and the words that we had before. And now you need to try and pull this together. Now, one of the key things that I went over yesterday was about equity. Okay? Equity basically will support the vigilant. Okay? Equity does not support the one who slumbers. And you'll find that under, let me see, I think it's under vigilant. Okay? If you go under vigilant, the vigilant are aided by equity. And then you go down under vigilant, and then it's got several words, I-B-U-S, that's added on to the end of vigilant, basically, and then Latin phrases there. And several of them say, equity comes to the aid of the vigilant, but not to those who slumber. The laws assist the vigilant, and not those who slumber. To one, inattentive to his own concern, and improvemently or credititiously confiding in the naked or interested assertions of another. That's one who slumbers. And basically a slumberer is a cheater. They're trying to cheat the system and gain a benefit. But the vigilant will basically go out and do all the verifications, sort of like what Ronald Reagan had said, trust but verify. I think it was something along the lines of what he said.
Exactly.
Every once in a while, one of these guys puts something out that they have to put some real truth out, because 99% of the shit that comes out of their mouth is all a lie. So just to be in the sane world, they have to have at least one truth once in a while. No matter how bad they are. That shows that they are somewhat alive. There's another word for a slumberer. And basically that's a sluggist or
Sluggard.
Sluggard, okay. And see, there's a couple other rules that I had posted up there. Rule against postponement of enjoyment. A rule of public policy which forbids unreasonable restrictions on the enjoyment of property. Basically, they have put unreasonable restrictions upon our property. Rule against suspension of power of alienation or alienation. Alienation, whatever. Okay? And basically that is putting your property in an unalienable condition beyond a fixed period by statute, which was 21 years. It was only 21 years your property was to be held in an inalienable condition. At the age of 21, you were supposed to be able to pick up the property and do an alienation of the property, which an alienation is basically you are giving it up. You are doing a conversion of it into something else. But see, most people don't understand what the words really mean. And then they go off because they're a sluggard or a slumberer, and they haven't really gone into the dictionaries as much as they should have. And that is basically right out of the parable about the 10 bridesmaids that went out to meet and escort the bridegroom back in the parable 2,000 years ago. Half of them fell asleep and let their candles or their their pots
Lanterns.
that had oil in them go dry. The others basically shut theirs down so that they maintained some oil for use when basically they needed it. The parables and all these stories and all these movies and everything tell us a lot, that people don't have the mind set to open it up and read between the lines because you've been dumbed down. You could stay in the system and basically be a good little Communist Party member and maybe get some relief out of the system. But in a sense, you are just a damn slave to their system. And when a slave is no longer needed, basically they get rid of them. So that's what you have to look forward to. That, like when I was telling you about the ecclesiastic, okay, and basically about the collegium there, a corporation, an ecclesiastical body which is not controlled by the state. Talking to one guy today, and basically he said, well, that makes sense because now I can see why some people years ago there were being able to go across the border into Canada without a passport or anything, without a driver's license, without any of this stuff because they were operating under their ecclesiastical bodies, their church. And then you have your ecclesiastical notary, which is higher than any public notary or even a secretary of state. So you don't need to have an apostille. Okay. Go ahead and I'll open it up. How many you got on the call now, Tom?
11.
Okay. You guys have any questions, you better ask them, okay? Or else basically I'll just classify you guys as all sluggos or slumbers.
So are you saying that ecclesiastic collegium that's the ones that are acting like they're in control, they're the communist?
No. We got a collegium, okay, a T-R-E-S, okay, first word, F-A-C-T-U-N-T, collegium, C-O-L-L-E-G-I-U-M. That was by the first registrar, the court registrar, in our recording into the Book of Life. And that was per the Constitution. Okay?
Okay. Okay, so that registrar was that word. I couldn't write it down fast enough.
Yeah, registrar.
I don't got the first.
A registrar is basically a person that transfers shares of stock.
Right.
It's not the county recorder. They have to have the title of registrar to make a transfer of stock. And normally the first one that comes into play was the clerk of the court. The second registrar that came in, which was normally about 90 days later, was a state registrar to basically take your shares of stock and your corporation and place it under this, what the hell is it? I can't even see it.
That tenants in common type thing?
Yeah, this tenancy in common, this communist system.
Right.
Okay, to put it all into that scenario, to where now it's held in a common, and common is basically stands for communism.
Yeah, that's your perpetuity.
Well, that was a control over perpetuitary.
Okay.
Okay? Now, perpetuitary is the word to use in law. In equity, it is called a transgressive trust. Okay? You can look up transgressive trust. And basically a transgressive trust, a trust which is by its terms transgresses or violates the rule against perpetuities. Nothing is denounced as a perpetuity that does not transgress this rule. And equity follows this rule by way of analogy in dealing with executory trust. Those trusts which transgress the rules are called transgressive trust, being in equity. The substantial equivalent of what in law are called perpetuities. annuitaries. Now, an executory trust, in one sense, a trust not completely achieved in legal effect. So these are not real, legal, effective trust. If you have an embosser that has executor on it, throw it away. We messed up by getting that embosser, because exec, EX, is for the dead, is for the communist dead system, the communal system out here. Just think about it. Ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, ex-roommate, ex, all these things are ex. Well, they're dead to you if they're exes. And this trust is basically a dead trust. It's not a legal, it hasn't achieved legal effect, because a trust was really supposed to be dealing with the living.
So it has not achieved being a real trust, you're saying?
Yes, you can read the definitions.
Right. Like buying feed for a dead horse.
No, it's basically just that they have our stuff bound up, okay? We can't access it. They put a padlock, a barricade against our items. You can go through a bunch of the different items about judicial, or I forget which one I was looking about, partition, barricades, what the hell was it? Yeah, judicial, maybe a judicial barricade or something. There's more words out there than what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
That basically you can utilize and get a good handle on the understanding. Like I said, one of the key things that basically anybody, after they came out of high school, which they should have really had it before they went into high school, was a outstanding dictionary. Not one of these pocket little dictionaries that have maybe 25 words in it, but one that basically is going to hold the damn table down in an earthquake.
They should give you, everybody, one when they go to high school. Was that what you just said?
Either in high school or in the college.
Yeah.
And see, you have to go to your own college when you get out of high school. And that's what this is. Now you go and understand your trans factum collegium, college. Collegium, a corporation, to college. That means you've got to go into your higher learning capacity.
So all these people talking about trust really are talking about the executory trust, and that business that they are not effective.
It's a transgressive trust that appears to be an executory trust.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You've got to use the right word first, okay? And that is that transgressive trust, because it's transgressed the law.
Okay.
It's doing a trespass. Transgress means trespass. is trespassing upon the law.
But that's in effect what you've been saying. There are no trusts because the trusts that they're talking about are improper.
Yeah. Now, they were all set up in fraud.
Okay.
And see, that's some of their hidden curtains that they had pulled over everybody's eyes. Basically, you're going to these courts as a court of equity, but a court of equity is also called a court of conscience.
Hmm.
You can read the definition of that.
I will.
Equitable choose in action. Equitable claim. Just compensation. And see, that's what we're after, is the just compensation or the just exchangement of our property. Contract. Okay? Second item in Valentine's under contract, within the meaning of the obligation of contract clause of the federal Constitution. The term contract includes not only contract as the word is ordinarily understood, but all instruments, ordinances, measures, by whatever name known, which embody the inherent qualities or purposes of valid contract and carry them to the reciprocal obligations of good faith. That court filing is a contract. Whenever you submit a court filing, it is a contract with that court to give you justice. They have 3 days to reject that contract. They really don't have 3 days because basically they're under, they have to accept any contract because that's in the statutes out there that in any form submitted, they have to accept that contract. And then they have to adjudicate that contract, say, well, we can't handle this one or whatever. But when we understand what we're doing, now we can hold their feet to the fire because justice is just exchangement. They have to broker our actions for us. That's why all these courts have a bar. They have to have a bar card, a brokerage card. And so that's a brokerage contract that's going to these courts nowadays. Affirmative. An answer, yes, something beyond positive tolerance or acceptance. The side supporting a proposition bearing the burden of proof. Affirmative authorization, a positive declaration of authority rather than authorization by implication. And see, that's what they operate on, is basically by authorization of implication that they're holding that office. Are they really holding that office properly? We don't know. In most cases, some of them aren't.
You said declaration of authority by what? What's something about holding the office? I didn't get that. The declaration of authority by supposedly holding office, is that what you're saying there? The words you said, that sentence before that, I forgot what you...
Affirmative authorization.
Yeah.
Okay, read the definition. You can look it up in more than one dictionary. This call isn't to be set up to basically give the word definitions, even though I am giving you some of all the words. And see how I get to these different words? I get into a definition, and then I see a word there, and I say, hey, I want to know what the hell that word really means. Not that I think I know it, as a slumberer does, but I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to be vigilant out here in my endeavors. Because only the vigilant get equity on their side. And when you're vigilant, you will know the law and have the power over the court at that point in time to force their hand. But if you're wishy-washy or a slumberer, you will never have the capability to have the force behind what you're doing.
That's true.
Okay, questions. Come on, people.
You know, when I saw the vigilant definitions, I put them all out there because you could see that how they apply, and all the equity ones, even though they don't apply to this case. To seeing it all in context makes me understand better the ones that do apply to our case.
Okay, however you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Most people ain't going to read them anyway, so basically that's the problem.
Well, I'm catching on. It's slow, it's hard, but I'm catching on.
You know, when you watch people watch TV, they're slumbering too, because you could like try to have a conversation or bring a subject up to them and they won't even hear you, or they don't even acknowledge you being in the same room with them, really, whether you're watching it or not.
Yeah, but why are you talking while the movie's going on? You're probably missing something that's very important in that movie. There's always a moral to every movie, every story out here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
See, you're trying to enforce your self upon them, disrupting their privacy. See, that's what people don't think about, okay?
Well, I was just making a comment about their slumbering mode, because they're not...
You don't know whether they are slumbering if they're watching a movie or a TV program or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? You have a right to enjoy, okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm not interrupting. I'm just saying it's like...
I'm just trying to make a statement here that basically that is not to be classified as a slumber, okay? One who basically takes my work and just turns around and puts their name to it and tries to run with it, that's a cheater. That's a slumberer. Yeah. If they don't go out and find out what everything that I have in that document is saying. because they will never be able to support it. So they have slumbered in the process.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get across.
That's a better characterization. I mean, illustration.
Yeah. See, the bridesmaids, basically, they all had the same candles or oil pots or whatever. But they did not fulfill their due diligence in making sure that they were going to have enough oil left when it was needed. In other words, shut the candle down and relight it later on. But see, about 5 of them fell asleep, and then their candles burned down. They didn't shut them down when they went to sleep. Yeah, and if you turn this over to like an attorney, now you're putting your trust into somebody else's hands that basically is another Communist Party member that may get a kickback out of the deal, and you're going with what his beliefs are, not your beliefs any longer. Okay, is there anybody else besides Tom and Steve on this call?
Yeah. I guess
Well,
I
you
don't
got
have
anything
any
to say?
13 altogether right now.
No, I mean, is there anybody else on the call that can open their mouth besides Tom and Steve?
Come on in, guys.
Are you guys all
Yes.
slumbers? Okay?
They ask questions during the week, but they don't ask them now.
Yeah.
There's another word, I'll let somebody else talk if they want, but there was another word called copar something, and I didn't finish writing it. Copar something.
Coparency?
What? I didn't hear you, Tom.
COPARCENORY. I think is how you spell it.
I have COPARCENARY, but let me check it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Coparcenary.
Oh yeah, coparcenary.
Yeah, it means you're a co-partner in this tenancy and trust.
Okay, I'll look that one up too.
A co-pensary or whatever.
Okay. I'm just filling in my notes here.
It'll get you into the right part of the dictionary anyway.
Okay.
There's another interesting definition called invasion of privacy of appropriation of a name, which might be interesting for people to look up.
Yeah, that's also comes under the infringement of title. Infringement of name and infringement of copyrighted name. And see, you have first claim to that name, either by your Bible entry or by your hospital birth certificate. See, the communists do not want to give recognition to that hospital birth certificate of being a valid document. Okay, because that is the one, especially the hospital birth certificate, that you, the living, showed that you were alive. because they don't give one of those certificate of live births to a dead baby. Or certificate of birth.
People that don't go into the hospital and get a certificate of live birth, do they still have a chance of getting their assets, even though they're not technically recorded by the state through the hospital?
Well, they need to get the recording at the county land record to get their American inheritance claim recorded.
So in other words, you don't have to use the hospital. You can do it yourself, record it yourself by going to the...
You're not hearing me. You have a birthing at home. You really record that into your Bible, okay? That's your first entry, okay?
Okay.
Now, to get your claim to being a lawful claimant here in America, to have your land claim, you have to go into the county and go through the court, take your Bible entry, and take it to the court and have the court registrar assign you your corporate shares of stock in the state and the country and your assets that are entitled as an inheritance. Now, if they basically turn around and they will try to do that, then you have to fill out that certificate of live birth registration form. But the communists come in and then they assign a number to that to turn around and basically make that move the assets out of your private, not your private, but basically the American trust over into this tenancy in common, so that basically the communists can utilize that as collateral. You follow me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know it's confusing because, and you have to sometimes sit down and draw this sort of out on a flow chart.
So, how do you keep the bar members from using your certificate of live birth, the assets? Basically,
you turn around and you do a partition when you turn 21, and you do a writ of partition into the Supreme Court, and take your stuff out and put it into your ecclesiastical church estate. You can turn around and put it back on deposit into the de jure side of the American Treasury in the process. Under that, I think it might still possibly get into that special trustee that we found in the Department of Commerce.
Wasn't that the Department of Interior?
Yeah.
Or Department of Interior, yeah. But we will find out about that once we get this process through the court. They will basically start talking to us at that point in time. So don't go presuming too damn much. Because that's what everybody's gotten in trouble with, is operating on all their wrong presumptions. And we've been misled by a lot of the patriot community out here in all their misunderstandings that they were operating under. thinking that they really knew what the hell they were talking about when they really didn't. Some of them were close, but they were missing a lot of the big items. Hell, I go back 5 and 6 years ago, some of the stuff that I was putting out then, and I was right on the money that I was missing several things. And then because I didn't get immediate response, I turned around and basically started checking out some of these other things and basically going with the codes and the 1099s and all that other garbage, only to find out that it's all fraudulent. It's all in the communist organization, the communal system. And that's what, at least that's what I was out to try and get away from. I wanted to be free. Like we're supposed to be. Under our own collegium. Okay, once again, anybody else out there have a question, a statement, whatever? Show that you're alive. Please.
Come on, guys, dare something.
Hello, Patrick. This is Kurt.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to look at your latest work, and I've been looking at your definitions that you put out before. So I'm a little bit behind of what you're doing, but I have been listening. But I've been working while I've been listening, so I just wanted to let you know I'm here. I want out of the system in the first way, so don't give up on me.
Okay. Well, basically, it's all there. You'll have to take the documents that I sort of had written up there before, going to the court, and it's got to be modified now because we've had about another 3-4 days of word definitions that we need to incorporate into that document to make it say what we really want it to say.
Good.
Okay.
And that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. I need to catch up on the word definitions, so I have that understanding. I'm not going to send anything in until I understand what I'm doing.
Okay. And talk it over on the group there or whatever. Okay. If you have a question, bring it up and try and get the understanding. But always rely upon understanding what the words mean. Okay?
Right.
Don't go by what somebody else tells you that they mean, because they might be totally wrong.
I thank you for helping me understand that so clearly here lately. That's really hit home, so I understand that now. That's good. So, thank you very much. I'm going to mute back out so I can continue doing some stuff here.
Anybody else?
I guess not.
Okay. Well, basically, then call it a night.
Okay, I'll get the call up, and I've been able to look up some definitions tonight too while you were talking, so that's very good. Thank you.
Okay. Talk to you later.
I got a question before you leave, Patrick.
Yeah.
Steve, say we do succeed, or you succeed, and we can join you and collect our assets and be the manumission or be emancipated as we should be. Instead of just being private citizens, is there a way to actually have authority, or like actually make sure that you never get messed with again, like you are part of the United States of America under the Articles of Confederation.
Take a look at how the Mormons operate. Take a look how the Amish operate, or the Mennonites, how some of these other church organizations operate, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's what basically, but you're going to be an individual one.
Okay.
And see, that's where that collegium comes in. An ecclesiastical body which is not controlled by the state. They have no control over you.
Right. Okay, so that's our goal. That's the way to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that was the first one that was set up there for us, was that TRESFACIUNT collegium.
Yeah.
That corporation was set up to basically make us a separate entity that was not to be controlled by the state.
Okay.
The second registrar came in and put us into this other scenario of being under the tenancy in common.
Right.
And once we break out of the tenancy in common, we're no longer in the common.
Right. All right, that's cool. I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Sometimes you got to hear it a couple times, but I'm getting it. It's all new in your mind.
I have a question for the person who brought up the invasive privacy. What dictionary did you get that out of? The word invasive is nowhere in Valentine's, which surprises me. If you're still on, I guess if you're not, you can't answer then. Okay?
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Thanks, Patrick.
This helps a lot. Thank you.